The thing I wish somebody would have showed me when I, for the first time, held a drop spindle. If you start drop spindling, you probably have something like this. It's an Ashford Beginner Dropspindle. There are many different drop spindles and all of them feel different. But for start spindling, this is pretty okay, I think. It's a little big and heavy. I just fell in love with resin drop spindles because they're so pretty. Look at this. My first drop spindling experience I do have with that Merino-Silk Blend. Exactly this one. Different fiber feels different. And when I drop spindled for the first time, I didn't know that. I just went to the store and thought, oh, I like this. I didn't even ask what blend it is. She told me it's merino silk. It's maybe not the best to start drop spindling with. And I thought, whatever, it's nice, I want it. And so I bought it and I had no plan. I tried to turn the spindle and pull, and it didn't pull fast enough and the yarn got thick and it was a mess. That this doesn't happen to you, I will show you now what you should do. So you have your drop spindle, just make a loop with any yarn you have. This is on the long side, you can make it shorter too, but I had this lying around, so I'm just going to use this. You put it around your spindle. The spindle, by the way, all my spindles are top whirl spindles. And then you go 2 or 3 times around your hook. Turn the spindle clockwise. You let it hang and give it a twist, and it basically already spins. So your leader thread is spun already clockwise. When it has a nice energy into it, you can start rolling it up. You just go around this top, hook it in and turn it clockwise a few times. If you have fiber that looks like this, it's a combed top. And it's really hard to spin right off a combed top. You would have to pre-draft it a bit. I mean, I wouldn't have to pre-draft it anymore, but if you start drop spindling, it's easier if you pre-draft your fiber from a combed top. Also, you don't need to hold everything in your hand. You can, but which I did that at the beginning. I was holding everything, trying to spindle, and then it got caught up and stuff. What you can do is actually just pull a little bit out of your fiber and then pre-draft it. Pull your fiber just gently apart so it's not so compact anymore and already loosened a bit. Every fiber is different. There are different staple lengths. The staple length is how long the fiber actually is. So if I pull this apart, you see it's pretty long. It's about 3 inches. There is fiber that have even longer staple lengths or even shorter, like yak fiber can have 1 inch or less. And I recently spindled cat hair, which had 1 to 2 centimeters. It feels very different to spin with short staple lengths. You also have to use different technique with short staple lengths. If you start spinning, you have something probably from 3 to 4 inches. So if you have your fiber pre-drafted, just take a little bit, the tip of it, and pull it through your loop here that you prepared. Make it pretty thin. And since you have already twist in it, this starts twisting up automatically. You can just spin your spindle clockwise. Let it spin. Put it under your arm. And then draft the fiber. You don't have to hold it here. You can hold it with your knees between your legs. Spindle right here and then pull I would just pull maybe 3 times, spin again, draft 3 times, spin again, draft 3 times, and so on. It's pretty thin. And the reason I do such a thin thread is because I'm going to ply it afterwards. So you can see if I do a ply-back test here, this looks pretty good. After a while you will develop a feeling on how much twist you need so the thread won't break. If you pull just a little bit of fiber, it will give a thin thread. So if I draft in a way that there is more fiber in each draft, then my yarn gets thicker. And to accomplish an even thread, you just have to look how much you draft. So it's always about the same amount. And I actually want my draft to be, my single to be thinner, so I'm gonna go back and untwist what I just did and just draft it out more. If you feel like your twist is so weak that you can't let the drop spindle hang, it would break, you can just spin it manually in your hand a little bit before you let it go. Just spin it clockwise. And then you feel the thread gets more sturdy, so you can let it drop again. If your thread breaks, put the end of your thread on here, hold it with your thumb and spin. Lock it in if you have to and draft again. The twist will pick up the new fiber into this thread. When I roll up my thread, I go in a crossing motion up and down the stick so the thread crosses. The trick is not to let the twist travel into this fiber unless you want that, which I show you later. But if you have too much twist travel into all this fiber here, you can't really pull anymore because this is already becoming like thick yarn like this, and there is no way you can draft from something like that. So if I build up twist here, I'm holding my thumb here. On this side there is no twist in this fiber yet. And then I take my other hand and hold the twist here. There is no or not much twist here yet, so it gives me the chance to draft as thin as I want. But as soon as I let go here, the twist will travel till here. Then I can turn again. I'm holding here and draft and then let my twist in. And that's the whole point of putting your spindle between your legs or under your arm, so you have time for the step without the spindle moving. You can draft and let the twist go in. Since you pre-drafted your fiber, it's much easier to draft a thin thread. If you feel like you're comfortable just turning your spindle clockwise, holding it between your knees and drafting, you can turn your spindle clockwise and just let it go like this, and then draft. Still turning, still turning, still turning. Now it slowly stops turning. Even if I don't take it right away, it's not doing anything. It stops, then it starts turning the other way. So now I have to start taking it because it will unravel the thread and then the thread gets weak. If you get to the point where you let your spindle in the air while you draft, you do the same step and let the twist go in just as far as you want by having the thumb here before the twist gets into the fiber. So now I still don't have twist in here. It comes in when I let go here. And you still have all the time, almost all the time in the world to do this. If you practiced by holding the spindle between your legs, you can do it. There is no reason not to let your spindle go free in the air. So the drop spindle doesn't pull on my draft. I actually hold the weight with my binky. And then decide with this thumb and this index finger when I let the twist go in. Now I let the twist go in. This is a short draw. I pull out the fiber, not as much as the staple length is, so it won't break, and let the twist in afterwards. If you have longer staple lengths, like 4 to 5 inches, or even 3 inches maybe, sometimes it's easier to draft from the fold. You can fold your fiber over your index finger and pick up the fiber like this. What happens here is it will take the fiber from each side of the fold and spin it like this. So it naturally makes the staple length shorter. And it just feels different. You can experiment with that. Also, it looks a little different. It's like a half woolen technique like this. There's different drafting techniques, woolen and worsted. I won't get much into this video, but that's just a different way to draft the fiber. And also instead of a short draw, you can do a long draw. A long draw is actually when you let the twist travel into your fiber and then pull. At the beginning you can do this sitting, because you're lower to the ground. You might not be as scared to drop the spindle when you sit, like if you would stand. And if you're comfortable with that, you actually can stand up and do the same thing. Still turning. Once you feel like you're comfortable letting the spindle go and you draft really fast, you want your spindle to have more twist in it. So you can also use your leg to spin your spindle. For that you pull upwards and then you have more speed in the spindle and you can draft for a longer time. Still turning. All that I wish somebody would have told me when I started. And if you're comfortable with that, you can start walking around. As thinner as your thread is, the easier your spindle will spin. At the beginning you can make a thicker thread. You don't have to go as thin as I do, but I want to make a 3-ply out of this. That means I twist it the other way with 2 other ones of those thin threads. You can also make 2 plies or 4 plies. And how I do that directly from a spindle is like this. That little carton box works so well. Feels like it's a tensioned lazy Kate. It's awesome. If you don't have 3-drop spindles, you can also transfer the thread from your spindles onto 3 bobbins, or if you do a 2-ply, 2 bobbins, and then ply it from there. If you don't have bobbins, you can also wrap it around a toilet paper roll. That's how I did it first, actually. The thread I spun, I put it around toilet paper rolls and then plied it from the toilet paper roll with that drop spindle, the other way around. So this is the fiber I just spun during this tutorial. It's a very delicate thin thread. You don't have to spin your first fiber that thin, but you can try. And the reason I still have all this beautiful merino silk unspun from my first spindling. This red is a little too dark. It's beautiful. I don't want it like this in a yarn. So I thought I'm gonna mix them all up and make a big yarn out of it. But I will show how I do this in another video. And this one is not spun up yet because I wanted to make with my first fiber a beginner drop spindling tutorial. I kept it for this moment. And now finally I can mix it up with another fiber and finish the yarn. This is the first yarn I spun with it. It looks terrible. Actually, it's not even the first one. I made it thicker than this and respun it by untwisting it and making it thinner, and then 2-plying it. And I overspun it, and now it looks like a cord. I also spun those singles when I started and rolled them up into a ball. They're spun so thick that I could knit with them. Maybe I do that just to see how it feels to do a single ply. I'm crazy enough that I actually would respin all this. I could respin it with more thinner single, unply the plied ones and spin it to a thinner single. I could leave as is, or I could cut it apart and hand card it. No, I don't know yet. I hope this mini tutorial helped you to not run into the same problems like I did when I started drop spindling. And let me know if it works out for you, if you have other questions, and if you want to see some other drop spindling videos of mine. Please check it out. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you soon.